Hello everyone. After a lot of puzzling and back and forth, I finally got to room 46. And while I enjoy the journey, I feel that some of the discovery involved some boring back and forth drudgery that I could have avoided if I had just had a better idea of the steps involved. The aim of this video is to help anyone that wants to move forward in the game without wasting a lot of time but still wants to solve the specific puzzles themselves. Therefore, I will go over the specific steps that must happen in order to reach room 46, but I will leave it to you to find the solutions to the puzzles themselves. In other words, if you start a fresh save, what is the most efficient way to end up in room 46? There will be faster ways of doing it once you have been playing for a while, but in theory, this approach could be done in day 1 if you are extremely lucky with your drafting. It should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways, that there will be some spoilers here, although I'll do my best to avoid what can be avoided. And so, without further ado, let's get into it. Getting to room 46 is just a simple matter of first reaching the antechamber, getting the key to the basement, going to the basement, pulling the final lever, then going back through the house and opening the door. How you get to the room will vary slightly depending on what you draw, but your first goal is always to reach the antechamber. Reaching it means that you'll need to place a room next to the antechamber with a doorway facing one of its doorways. But that's not enough, as the antechamber doors themselves cannot be opened manually, but you must use one of the levers hidden throughout the mansion. And so, on your way to the antechamber, you should keep your eyes open for a few different things. The most straightforward lever to find is in the Great Hall, but it requires a lot of keys or also drafting the foyer. The Great Hall has 7 doors, 6 of which could contain the lever. All of the Great Hall doors are locked, which is where using the foyer comes in, as it will unlock all the doors. Otherwise, you'll just need to ensure you have a lot of keys or the pick locks to try unlocking the Great Hall doors until you find the lever. This will open the western door of the antechamber. The second method to open the antechamber is using the secret garden. The secret garden can only be reached by using the secret garden key on a room that is not barren of soil. That means most of the spaces at the eastern edge and the western edge of the mansion will work. You get a hint about where to try to find the secret garden in the apple orchard, which is outside the house next to your tent. The code to the orchard can be found in the dark room. The secret garden key can sometimes be found as the prize from the billiards puzzle, is sometimes sold as a special key at the locksmith, or can sometimes be found in the music room. It can also be found in the closet or in any other room that gives you an item. Because the secret garden isn't a draftable plan, it can be a very reliable way to open the antechamber on your initial playthroughs. Its lever will open the western door of the antechamber, so if you're proceeding on this route, you should concentrate on getting a door on the floor plan that you place in that spot next to the antechamber. The south door of the antechamber is opened via the lever in the greenhouse. But not only do you have to draw the greenhouse, which is a rare plan, but you also have to fix that lever. That means you'll need to have a broken lever in your inventory and not have used it in the workshop. Once you reach the antechamber, you'll find the basement key and the note that explains that in order to go up, you must first go down. There are 3 ways of accessing the basement in your first few runs. The easiest approach involves using the foundation and the pump room. At some point during your playthrough, you'll draw the foundation, which is a rare plan, so it doesn't always come up. When you place it down, the foundation will always appear in that spot and orientation in future playthroughs. In the foundation, there is an elevator that is at first not reachable. The trick to getting it down to the floor is to draft a doorway facing the back of the foundation where the elevator is, as its controls are hidden on the other side of the room. Activating this lever makes the elevator drop down and can now take you to the door of the basement. If you access the basement in this manner, you'll have to solve what amounts to a crate pushing game in order to open up the way to the underground. Accessing the underground through the foundation will let you bypass the reservoir puzzle. Once in the underground, you'll need to solve the rotating gear puzzle, which is not solvable without first accessing the basement through the fountain, or drafting the tomb in the outside room, and then solving that puzzle. The tomb puzzle is fairly straightforward, so I'll just cover draining the fountain in this video. If you use the tomb method, you can skip to the next chapter. In order to drain the fountain, you will need to use the pump room. The pump room is only available to draft after you place down the pool. It may take you a few runs before you draw the pump room, or you might get lucky on your first try. When you're trying for the pump room, you should also keep your eyes open for the boiler room. The boiler room is used for a number of different puzzles throughout the mansion, and most of them use the same mechanic. Basically, the steam in the boiler room must be routed to the central unit inside the room. Once all three of the pipes feeding the unit are steaming, all three lights will be blue in the indicator at the top, and you'll be able to use the activate button. Activating the boiler will then light up the central conduit that leads towards the door straight across from you. You can switch which door is live under the controls underneath the activation panel that you just used. The idea here is that some rooms contain conduits along the ceiling similar to those in the boiler room. If you connect the live one from the boiler room to the ones in adjacent rooms, these will also go live and they will be available for connections. The drafting interface will handily show you if you are coming from a live connected room by showing a bright blue line at the bottom of the drafting area. Any rooms shown that could form a further connection will also have a bright blue line connecting them to the bottom line. Anyways, the reason I mention it at all is that while you're draining the stairs, and it can be done completely using just the pump room, if you connect the pump room to the boiler, the reserve tank will also be activated and be usable. Filling the reserve tank with water will allow you to drain 1 bar of water from the reservoir. Doing this will enable you to reach the boat that lets you cross the reservoir toward the rotating gear puzzle. If you have the foundation active, however, that will let you bypass the reservoir and you don't need to connect the pump room to the boiler room. However, unless you use the tomb to bypass the fountain, you still need to draft the pump room and drain all of the water from the fountain. Doing this will allow you to go down the stairs in the fountain and open the basement door at the bottom using the basement key. You will then need to navigate towards the left, where you will eventually find a shaft with a minecart at the end of it. You'll want to grab that minecart and pull it as far as you can down the rail in order to open up the passageway on the other side. If you have drained the reservoir, then at this point you can get on the boat and cross the reservoir and then solve the rotating gear puzzle. At this point you can run down the lit up corridor that looks like it belongs in a bunker and then pull the final lever. Pulling this lever will open up the moon door at the antechamber. And then, provided you have enough steps, you must run back up the foundation or back through the fountain and then run to the antechamber. Once you touch the door, you will have found room 46. I do have a few final tips that may allow you to complete this part of the puzzle. First of all, if you draft a code check, don't check any items into it. If you have retrieved the basement key but don't have the steps to make it back to the basement, you may be able to leave the basement key in the code check. This will allow you to use it in another run where maybe you will have more steps. You should also usually be drafting the security room and the breaker room early if possible. Set security to low if you haven't placed the breaker room, but once you place down the breaker room, you should consider setting the security setting to high, provided that you also set the unpowered doors to unlock by default. Never underestimate the number of keys that you want. You always want as many keys as possible. Most runs that end, despite your careful drafting and avoiding dead ends, and they end because you ran out of keys. If you happen to get lucky and have the sledgehammer, broken lever, and battery pack, you should be on the lookout for the workshop. By the way, the battery or the broken lever are often sitting in the workshop, so it's worth drafting even if you don't have those. In any case, with those 3 items that I mentioned, you can make a powered sledgehammer that can be used to smash through certain walls. If you take it outside the mansion around to the front, you can smash through the broken boards and brick wall and gain access to the basement area without the use of a key for future runs. While this will allow you to pull the final lever and open the moon door before going into the mansion proper, you will still need to make your way to the antechamber and open one of its doors before you can reach room 46. After finding room 46, you'll get access to at least one more room that I'm aware of, the gift shop. That room can be used to unlock further game modes that may be of interest. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, leave me a like, and I'll see you on the next one.